Welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast presented by PointsBet. Use code CHGO to live your bet life. When you sign up, you get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000 with that code CHGO. Welcome in Adam Hoge alongside Nicholas Moreano. You know what they call this?
Drip?
Well, that's what Olin Kreutz called it. That's what you and Olin call it. Drip. I got my drip. For those of you listening on the pod, the shirts are in the CHGO search.
I just have a regular black shirt because I have yet to get my CHGO swag.
But you have the stickers. So
I do have the stickers. That's right. So
yeah.
I have neither, but that's just me over here.
You have a sweet Bulls hat, though. That
Is this
people.
true?
There's the camera. Why does it do that, by the way? I know what you're dealing with, like that mirror image reversal thing.
Yeah.
Why does that happen?
Well, I've got the monitor turned at a certain angle, and I need to turn it more in order to keep the mic near me. Because see, there's
No. I'm not
the
talking
mic.
even about you. I'm just in general, the software, like
learning how life works, where you have to move this way when you
yeah,
actually
like
want to.
like every now that we live in like
that's
this
just-
COVID world where we do all these remote,
Yeah,
like
you
it's always
know.
been a problem. I don't
You
get
just
it.
got to figure things out, and that's just on me, really, to figure out which way to lean in here. But yes, that
It's
is a
just
sweet Bulls
confusing.
lid.
You
See
gotta-
red, be good.
You got to go left when you need to go right and all that. So anyway, welcome in. Got the Sox hat on too. Happy home opener to the Chicago White Sox.
Should we say hi to Will yet, or would you want to hold off on Will?
Oh yeah, and Will's here too. Well,
Should we bring Will in?
You didn't put him in the box.
Well, I was
yet.
gonna bring him in, but I was talking first.
I like that.
Okay.
Sorry, Will. We got Lawrence in the bubble today before you, but Will DeWitt is here too.
There we go. Had to push Lawrence out. Glad to be here, and I got the black memo. It's like wear black today, so
Yeah.
I am very excited for what's in store.
Yeah, well, we got a good show for you today. We got some Justin Fields talk for you. Go figure. You may have heard of him. He's the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. And then everybody's been asking for draft content. We got it coming for you. We are going to start a new daily segment from now until the draft where we pick our prospects. Pick your prospect. Every day we're going to come in here. The days Olin's here, we're going to make him do it too.
All right.
Bring in a prospect, and we're going to break them down for you every single day. So you'll be getting 3 prospects that we'll break down. They can just, frankly, they're random. They're whoever we want to bring up. Guys we like,
Very
whatever
random.
round.
Yeah, this is very random. I'm excited.
Very random. We'll just we won't even tell Olin. We'll see how he reacts. It'll be great.
And a little cheat code for the business. This forces us to do the work too and learn about these
Very
guys.
true.
So if we're just being completely honest, what's up, Kevin? Our glorious boss chiming in with a comment.
Yeah, a little WFH day for him, just so you're aware. I don't see him
Oh
over
yeah.
there. Yeah.
Well, it's Tuesday.
Tuesday is WFH.
It is WFH.
Now, to be fair to Kevin, he says that he gets 3 times the amount of work done on Tuesdays. So let's give it out to him. For
I
working from
believe
home.
it.
Yeah.
I believe it. Absolutely believe it. Anyway, welcome in, everybody. We appreciate you jumping in, and I see the comments rolling already. Anish says Aaron Rodgers in a Bulls cap on the pod because Lawrence does look like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, we've been over this before. Yeah, that's true.
I like it. Aaron Rodgers wouldn't be caught dead in the Bulls cap because he's a part owner of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's going to be a fun series.
And he's an idiot. So there's that.
that's
just shots fired.
the way. Although you never know. I mean, the way he jumps from girlfriend to girlfriend, maybe he'll start jumping from NBA team to NBA team.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I wouldn't. Well, the Bucks have a pretty good spot right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into some Bears talk here. The conversation we're going to start with Justin Fields today has to do actually with something our guy Dan Campbell said. I call him our guy. I like Dan Campbell. I like him a lot more than Matt Patricia, the last head coach.
For sure.
Dan Campbell's just pure entertainment. with the things he says, the amount of caffeine he drinks, the kneecaps he bites and things like that. He's an entertaining guy. Plus, he's jacked out of his mind.
He is, yeah.
If you can see on that picture, if you're watching on YouTube. But this is what Dan Campbell had to say about elite quarterback play. He was asked if you need an elite quarterback to win in the NFL. He said, no, I don't think that you need that. I think that those guys like that are obviously, they're special. And they certainly can give you a better chance. But no, I don't believe you have to have one of those guys to have sustained success. Of course, I find this really funny coming from the head coach of the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, who's he standing next to right there in that photo?
Jared Goff.
Exactly.
But, they had, in my opinion, basically one of the top guys you could have that wasn't quite elite in Matthew Stafford. They had one of the best possible options you could have for a non-quote-unquote elite quarterback who had to go elsewhere to win a Super Bowl because he couldn't get it done in Detroit. So I don't necessarily disagree with what Campbell's saying, but if that's the case, you better have everything around that non-elite quarterback be very, very good. And the Detroit Lions have failed to do that over and over and over again.
Yeah, and for me, thinking about it, I automatically go to Minnesota. Okay, you need an elite quarterback. If you don't have one for long-term success, Kirk Cousins is the epitome of why I think the Minnesota Vikings will never take that next step up, right? He's not elite. And I think to have that long-term success, you do need some of those guys. I'm just going to read you a list of the quarterbacks. Again, these are people that have won Super Bowls, not necessarily long-term success, but look at the guys who've won it since the year 2000, 22 years ago, which is crazy. Trent Dilfer, Tom Brady 7 times, Brad Johnson, Ben Roethlisberger, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson, Nick Foles, Patrick Mahomes, and then Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
You hear that list, there's a couple of outliers there, obviously a Nick Foles, a Trent Dilfer, but Tom Brady's won it 7 times. You have Peyton Manning and guys like that. So
yeah, I think, and especially if you kind of cut it off at 03, and
true.
You take out Dilfer, you take out Brad Johnson. Really, there's only 2 quarterbacks in there that maybe 3 if we're going to include Stafford, but really it's Nick Foles and
Joe Flacco.
Flacco and Foles would be the exception to the rule. But obviously, for those guys to win, they had to have really, really good teams around them, which is what they had.
Real quick, in the chat, they're all asking, we're talking about the Lions, where's Don Burr? He's our guy. He's our Lions fan in the chat every day. And guess what? He is here.
Oh, yeah. I was laughing, too, because we're actually talking Lions football, and he wasn't here.
Welcome, Don.
Yeah. Will, what's your reaction to Dan Campbell, before we get to the Justin Fields side of this and whether or not he needs to be elite, just your reaction to what Dan Campbell had to say?
Well, first of all, I think, Lawrence hit it. Look who he's standing next to. When you have Jared Goff, you can't say you need an elite quarterback if you're tied to someone as mediocre that he is. And like Nick, I was looking at previous Super Bowls since the Bears were there. That's 15 ago. So 30 quarterbacks. 10 of those 30 were only one-timers. 20 of the 30 were multiple appearances. So I do think, just looking at that, you have to have an elite quarterback to have sustained success. But it depends on what we're defining as sustained success. Is it just going to the playoffs? Is it winning divisions? Or is it, winning or going to a Super Bowl, which that's how I would define it in this league. And I think it's been proven throughout the last 15, 20 years, you need a dog there at the position, a top guy in order to make it. So many one and dones, even a Drew Brees was a one and done, Colin Kaepernick, Matt Ryan, Jimmy Garoppolo so far. Those are some really good quarterbacks, and they've only been able to make it to Super Bowl one time. And Cam Newton is another one as well. So I think you need to have a really top-tier quarterback in order to make it there consistently, as we've seen. And without it, you're lucky if you get there once. And if you do, good luck making it again.
Plus, there's so many examples of even just in the Super Bowl, whether it's Rex Grossman versus Peyton Manning or it's Jimmy Garoppolo versus Patrick Mahomes. I mean, even in games that have been somewhat close, I feel like more times than not, the better quarterback wins that game. I think you can say that about most games in the NFL. Better quarterback play is going to give you a better chance to win. I mean, that's not groundbreaking news there. So, spinning this towards the Chicago Bears, the question being, does Justin Fields need to be elite? I mean, I think the hope here is that he becomes one of those guys. History, especially for this franchise, tells you that probably won't happen. You know, like people got angry at me the other day for saying this. Like, those are two different things to me. It's like, I feel one way about Justin Fields in that I really, really like him. I think he can be special. I think he can eventually be elite. But I've been in this city my entire life, and I know better. There's not necessarily any logic there other than it's just Chicago and this is the Bears. But so, hypothetically, let's say he doesn't get to that elite stature. Maybe, I think he has to be better than Mitch Trubisky to stay in Chicago long term. But let's say he's more like a Matthew Stafford type where he spends a decade in this city. Or even Jay Cutler spent 9 years with the Chicago Bears. Can he play, if he's to that level, can the Bears have sustained success?
So I think so. And the thing is, if Justin Fields doesn't reach that, then you're really asking, for this defense to really do their part. And that's going to be a part of the equation for how the Bears will have this long-term success. But if Fields isn't that guy, then we've seen it before where a defense can't carry a team for a consistent amount of years to where the Bears are in contention to do something. They do need a quarterback. We saw it with Trubisky. Once 2018 happened, then 2019, all we wanted was average quarterback play. Maybe that team would have maybe done something, but we couldn't even get that. So I think the question being, like, does he have to be elite? I think so. If the Bears are going to have long-term success and be, in contention to win the NFC North, Fields has to be that guy. And if he is that, then you're going to see something that, honestly, like Adam, we haven't seen in Chicago before. A quarterback that's been good, that can carry a team, add that with a defense that can create turnovers. Well, now they have a chance. But, Will, what do you think?
Yeah, it's like I said on Twitter, it's an easy conversation for us because I believe we're all going to be on the same page. Heck, even a quarterback to Cutler's caliber in Chicago only had, one playoff win? So you need to be better than that here in this league. And he had some really good defenses to play with, and they still weren't able to, get over the hump, make it to the Super Bowl, or at least be consistently, a force within the playoffs. And I mean, if you look throughout the last decade too, look what happened in Denver before and after the Peyton Manning era, right? Like they were, they got Peyton Manning, they went to Super Bowls. I think they won one of the two. He retires, and now they're in QB purgatory yet again until they just got, another elite quarterback in Russell Wilson. So I think they know the answer. They learned it the hard way. And the Bears would be silly to think like Justin could be average and we'll be fine. Like he has to be, not just even top 10, probably like top 7, top 5 in this league for them to have what we're calling sustained success.
People are fairly asking, because it's a conversation that comes up all the time. It's almost cliche in sports talk these days. Like, how do you define elite? What does that mean? And I get it. And so my answer to that always is simply put this way. To me, the elite quarterbacks are the ones who you consistently win because of, not just with. And I mean that consistently. So I would not put Matthew Stafford in that category. I think Stafford certainly has games where he lifts the team. He's had plenty of fourth quarter comebacks. He's towards the top of the league in those over the course of his career. But I still think that when you look at him, he's more of a guy that more often than not, he's not quite to that level, but you win with him a lot if you have the right pieces around him. And obviously when the Lions did not have that, they did not win enough with Matthew Stafford. So the guys who you consistently win because of, I think Patrick Mahomes, right? Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. Those are the ones that consistently you're out there and they're lifting up the entire team around them, the entire offense around them with their play, making consistently plays after the play. So that's how I define it, and other people can define it different ways, but that's how I look at it. So right now, Justin Fields is far from that. Can he become that? I still think he can. But, the other part of this, as we bring in, I think, Cutler to the conversation, is Cutler never became that guy, but they were so close in that NFC Championship that, you can make the argument if he doesn't get hurt in that game, do they win that game? Do they go on to the Super Bowl if he doesn't get hurt? And I think that would have been an example of the Bears having all the pieces around him, and especially having that defense to kind of get over the fact that he probably wasn't somebody that you were consistently winning because of. And a big part of that, by the way, as some people pointed out here in the comments, not turning the ball over. Because if you're turning the ball over, a lot of times you're losing because of that player, which we saw sometimes with Jay Cutler.
Yeah, and what the thing is too, a lot of these guys will make some elite. They have more than one elite trait. You could put Jay Cutler in elite trait for arm strength, but a lot of the other categories, you never hit that box, and that's why again the Bears kind of end up where they were. But another guy that you can add to that list of elite quarterbacks, like a Josh Allen now, right, being probably one of the newer guys being added to that list. But for Justin Fields, it's we just need to see it all come together, and I think it starts. Maybe it won't be as consistent this year, just because the team is still not there. But we just need to see some aspects of his game that can lead you to believe, okay, there's something there that we can keep building off of to go into 2023. But again, to answer the question, it's yes, the Bears need Justin Fields to be that guy. If he is, they'll be in a much better place because of it.
And it's multifaceted. He has to be elite, but they also need to have a really good defense. They need to have playmakers around him. They're going to have to, rebuild that offensive line to protect him. And obviously, if he is elite, he can always elevate the level of play of everyone on this team. But he does need a surrounding cast. He can't be the only person in here who's playing at that high level. So it's one of those where, yes is an easy answer. He needs to be elite, but there are so many other factors that are in play here for the Bears to have this long-term success. That can go all the way from front office stuff, drafting and free agency, hitting on those picks. There are so many variables here, but if he's not elite, then the other ones kind of go to the wayside. So it's definitely, a strong resounding yes on my side.
So sort of related to this is that a story from yesterday out of Minnesota with Kirk Cousins talking to the media. He said that he would like to retire with the Minnesota Vikings. I'm sure he would love that, to get every year get another year of guaranteed money for way too much money being added on. I mean, does anybody have a better, sweeter deal right now in the NFL? Not even making the playoffs. Coach gets fired, GM gets fired, new GM comes in, tacks on another year of guaranteed money to my contract. I mean, Kirk Cousins is living a great life. Why would he ever want to go somewhere else? I get it. So that all sounds good. I would be shocked if the Vikings feel the same way at this point, unless Kirk Cousins, is willing to retire a year from now. If you're the Bears, you probably wouldn't mind him retiring a Viking, get Kirk Cousins twice a year for the next 5 more years or so. I don't know. He's still relatively young.
Still relatively young, and again, the Vikings don't have an elite quarterback, and that's why they're in the position that they are. Kirk Cousins isn't that guy who's being paid he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league. And when you look at the Vikings, I think the best season that they had was with Keenum, right, when he was their quarterback, and they were, in contention to do something there. But that's what I go to. If you don't have an elite guy, are you just Minnesota then? Keep paying. You're hoping, and you're just hanging on to Kirk Cousins because he's your best option. But to me, in my opinion, you're not getting anywhere. You're not winning the Super Bowl with him. You're not winning the Super Bowl because of him. And so that's kind of why, going back to the elite conversation, I just looked to Minnesota, because if that's what Justin Fields is going to be in that level of quarterback play, again, the Bears aren't going to do anything either.
No, they may win a division here and there, but outside of that, you're not going to reach that next step. And I'm happy Kirk Cousins wants to stay in the North. We just have to kind of bide our time for Aaron Rodgers to decide to finally leave it. And then the division's wide open yet again. And oddly, though, Cousins has had the Bears' number lately. I think they've won 3 of the last 4 against Chicago. He's thrown 2 or more touchdowns in the last 4 games, each and every single time. So what we need to do is, if he's going to be here, you have to find ways to make him have those performances that we saw, when he first came to Minnesota, when Vic Fangio was the defensive coordinator, and being able to make him play as, to the low level that we know he can if he's pressured, doesn't have a lot of time in the pocket, has to make some of those quicker decisions, and just kind of rattle him and get after him. So when I look at it, this makes me happy. It's just a matter of knowing, like, we do need on defense do a better part of actually making him play like we know he can, instead of him actually beating this defense, because he shouldn't.
All right, we got you got something else?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, last year at Soldier Field, like, he beat a Bears secondary that was missing 5, most of their starters. Like, I think he's definitely beatable, but like you said, Will, he kind of had their number in the win-loss column. But again, I think the Bears, they have their starting secondary. I think they do something differently at Monday Night Football last year, but just want to point that out.
There's a really good comment here real quick from Anish that just came in about what Kirk Cousins did against the Colts in 2020. 11-26, 113 yards, 3 interceptions. So if Matt Eberflus knows the answer of stopping Kirk Cousins and can consistently get that, then we're in really good shape.
Yeah, that's a
good point.
That's a great little nugget there from Anish. All right, draft content coming up, I promise. But first, want to make sure you know that the best way to support CHGO is to download the PointsBet app. Use code CHGO when you sign up, and if you do that right now, you get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. But that's not it, because if you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, like some of these draft profiles that Will and Nick have been working on, my mailbag, 10 Bears things, all up there if you are a member at allchgo.com. And you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker, like this one if you are watching on YouTube right now. So that's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free t-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making a $50 or more first-time deposit at PointsBet. If you have any questions, email pointsbet@allchgo.com. Your home for live in-play betting just got even better. Introducing PointsBet's new feature, the live NBA same-game parlay, which will be good for these playing games coming up here. For the first time ever, you can build the perfect live NBA same-game parlay only with PointsBet. Combine your favorite bets, boost those bets. So watch live, parlay live, boost live with PointsBet. And online sign-up is available in Illinois right now. You could download the PointsBet app, register your account from start to finish, all from your phone. It's very, very easy. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
All right, Chicago sports fans, if you aren't a member of our CHGO family, what are you waiting for? Members will have access to all of our premium content from all of our great writers. Like Adam said, he has his mailbag out. Will and I have been dishing out some draft profiles, so you can definitely go check that out on the Bears side, where you still have the Bulls, Blackhawks, White Sox, Cubs, the Sky. So make sure you go check that out as well. And you also get a free t-shirt of your choice when you become a member. If you want to get the CHGO one that Adam's rocking, you could definitely do that, or go with the Bears one. Definitely check that out. And you get access to the members-only Discord, the CHGO Lounge. And, of course, we have podcasts and live shows like this one, every team, every day. So come join this amazing family that's constantly growing here at CHGO.
And we have a new Tuesday feature for you guys from PointsBet called the Pick of the Week. Now, we'll try to incorporate some football ones here and there during the offseason, but it's a little bit tougher. Maybe figure out some ones with the draft coming up. But because it is the White Sox home opener today, Nick and I discussed before the show, and we have a White Sox bet for you from PointsBet. Nick?
Yes, and of course I don't have it here, but we bet on.
Do you remember it?
Yeah, well, I put money.
You actually put money on it, so you better remember it.
It's plus 210 for Tim Anderson to get 2 or plus hits, right? 2 or more.
Two or more hits today against the Mariners, plus 210.
Love that plus money. I mean, yeah, let's go.
I mean, Tim Anderson,
he leads the way.
One game is already getting three hits, and like home opener, I feel like there's just going to be some energy there, and I bet money on it, so it'd be nice if it hits. So we'll see what happens.
So there's your little your pick of the week for you to
Tim.
dive into.
Let's go, Tim.
From PointsBet. Use that code CHGO right here on the shirt. All right, draft. It's coming. Everybody wants this draft content, and we are going to give you our prospects every single day. Pick your prospect. We're going to come in here with random guys we like. We do the homework so you don't have to. And I'm going to start here with a wide receiver. It's kind of a wide receiver week for me because you and I are going to be recording some draft videos later this week. So I'm deep into the wide receivers this week, doing my homework. Here's a guy that you should know about. Alec Pierce is my prospect today, wide receiver from Cincinnati. Big guy at 6'3". He's long. He'll go up and get the football. And he's a local guy, Glenbard West.
Yep.
And that 40 time was good enough for me, a 4.41 40-yard dash to go along with that size. So he's got the size and speed to be a vertical threat. A little bit of a limited route tree at Cincinnati, so there is definitely some projection here. That's probably going to scare some Bears fans away, the Kevin White thing. You've heard about big, tall, fast wide receivers who don't
pay
run
money for bringing up Kevin White.
I know.
Like there should be a Kevin White jar.
You know, in hindsight, trying to sell a wide receiver prospect probably shouldn't bring up Kevin White's name at all.
You see what Kevin said here? Yeah. He is a Packers fan. Do not want bad decision making. I did ask Alec Pierce at the Senior Bowl. I'm like, hey, obviously being a Glenbard West, local kid, like, who'd you grow up rooting for? And he just looked at me, and I knew exactly what team. He's like, I root for the Packers. So, yeah. But that was back then. He said, he's like, if the Bears were to get me, I'd be ecstatic because a lot of his friends are Bears fans. But yes, that's the knock on an Alec Pierce. He grew up a Packers fan, but
he, I look, we're not talking about top 10 pick here. We're talking about somebody who potentially, one of the reasons why I want to bring him up is because we keep having these conversations about second rounders. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who could be available early third round, depending on how the draft board falls. So, if we're sitting here on that Friday night, doing our draft show here, and the Bears don't take a wide receiver with their first two picks, don't freak out, because if Alec Pierce's name came up early in that third, I think it'd be a great pick at that value, because you may have seen on that graphic we just had up, there are some questions about his playing strength, specifically against some press coverage. And I didn't like the fact that he declined to do the bench press at the combine. That doesn't really help answer that one question that he kind of had. So I think that's part of the reason why we're not talking about Pierce as one of the top wide receivers in this draft. But before we get to your guys, feel free to, Will, if you want to jump in on Alec Pierce, if you have any thoughts on him.
Well, I'm glad that you clarified the decline bench press. I just thought it was getting worse, which was like, if you're getting weaker, that would have been a huge red flag for me. So the fact that you meant he declined to actually partake in it makes a lot more sense. But no, I like Pierce. He's someone that, like he said, if the Bears don't go wide receiver early, okay, he can be available in the third. Or if they trade back to later in the second round to get additional picks, he's still someone that they can look at later in the second. And I still think there's a lot of value with him going, there as well. He doesn't need to be only a third round potential pick for the Bears. So I like it. He's someone I've been looking into as well. And I thought you did a good job of kind of explaining, quickly the pros and the cons and, where he'd be available, Adam.
Well, so I actually wrote on those Making the Case series, I did one of my profiles on Alec Pierce. And a guy, I got to see him up close at the Senior Bowl, and Christian Watson was the standout. But Alec Pierce was always number 2 in the wide receiver drills, running right behind Watson, and he looked like a crisp route runner. Was catching everything thrown his way. There was a really rainy practice that second day at the Senior Bowl. Still was able to make a couple plays, and then he wasn't able to finish. He didn't play in the game. I don't know exactly what. It must have been some kind of injury or something that happened at that time. But I liked what I saw up close from him, and then obviously when you see what he did at Cincinnati, it's a guy that, hey, if the Bears go into round 3, he's on your big board. They haven't selected a wide receiver. I think that, again, what Adam was saying, great value for what you can get out of him and what he can project to be in the NFL.
All right, next guy.
All right, my guy's coming up, and we actually talked about him on yesterday's podcast. Perion Winfrey out of Oklahoma, the defensive lineman, 6'4", 292 pounds, and for a bigger guy, still ran a 4.89 40-yard dash. And he, on that rainy second day at the Senior Bowl, he was a standout. You guys don't see this, but Adam's leaving the show right now. But he was a
Man, you don't have to call him out. We're in a full screen. No one needs to know this.
I just did though. But he was a Senior Bowl MVP, and on that second day where it was raining.
Now we got to call it Nick, quite frankly. I mean, that was a veteran move by me to wait for the.
Yeah.
I forgot my water earlier.
I didn't even have
left
a
it
water.
over off the screen by the couches, so I waited for the full screen to walk over, so nobody would know that I
We
went
call
to go
people
do it.
out on this show all the time, Adam.
And you just sold me out to everybody.
I had to. That's what we do here.
Nick,
You
that's
played
not
yourself,
how-
Nick.
Yeah, that's in the media industry when you're doing. That's just something you got to learn. That like when you go to a full screen, you could quietly walk off set and no one will know the
I
difference.
could have run to my car. And
Yeah.
no one would have known.
I
Yeah.
parked
I mean,
way
that would have
too
been a
far to
long-
do that.
I would have had the full screen up
Way,
for a
way
long
too
time,
far
but
to
yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Way too far.
Come on, Nick. Let's continue with Perry.
Let's continue here. Perry on Winfrey. But Tommy Harris actually talked about him in yesterday's podcast, which if you haven't seen, definitely go check it out.
Absolutely.
But the thing that stands out the most about Perry on Winfrey is his get off the line of scrimmage. He has this knack for just timing the snap. But it's actually also the one thing that he needs to work on because he does take those chances. But when it works out, there are some big plays that Perry on Winfrey can create. There's a couple of plays where he's just getting in the backfield, causing fumbles, delivering those big hits. And what I liked about him and how he could project with the Bears, he finishes plays. That hits philosophy that Matt Eberflus is going to implement for the Bears. He already does that at Oklahoma. If there's a play on the opposite side of the field, there's a lot of instances where you see Perry on Winfrey just chasing down that ball carrier. So I really like that about him. He also needs to work on just taking on some of those double teams, but was looking at Dan Brugler from the Athletic, the Beast, where he's kind of projected. That second round, I know, if the Bears draft a defensive lineman, when they have all these holes on offense, the offensive line and wide receiver, and you see a guy like Perry on Winfrey, well, the 3-tech is really important in this defense. And if you can get somebody that can be that guy moving forward, I still think it would be a pretty good pick for the Bears.
I mean, I like the thigh pad. For people that are watching on YouTube, you see it, but like that's a beautiful thigh pad.
Yep.
So
What is that?
I think
Is that
it's
the Scream? The Scream ghost
Yeah.
mask?
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't
That's
even notice
awesome.
that. Oh,
Yeah.
scary.
OU's got that Jordan swag. You know, they do whatever
Exactly.
they want down there.
Yep.
Will, what do you think about Winfrey?
Yeah, I like what he brings in terms of the explosiveness.
That was
I
a
just
no.
wonder-
This was the same reaction we had to your basketball career last
Yeah,
week.
you're right.
That was a
I owe
straight
Nick
up
one of
those.
no.
Circle.
Check them off the board. Red flags out of here.
I don't know if I would have spent a second round pick on him just with the other needs. I had to also, give Nick one of those no's as well. I owed him one. So I did the exact same thing. I don't know. I don't think the need matches up right now with what the Bears have been able to kind of accomplish and what they have on the team. And again, I like his burst and his athleticism. I just don't know if he's strong enough to be the dominant 3-tech here at the next level that Matt Eberflus wants in this defense, just due to some of that build overall. That's my first take on it, but we'll see how my mind changes if it does. But I doubt it will.
I just think regardless of how I feel about Winfrey, I do think that you hit on something there, Nick, that the Bears kind of tipped their hand a little bit, I think, with how aggressive they were with Larry Ogunjobi. Here's a team that's like basically doing nothing in free agency, but that was the big move that they went for, right? The 3-tech, and then it didn't work out. So, if I'm another NFL team that's trying to predict what the Bears might do, because that's the one advantage Ryan Poles has in his first draft is like, there's not a lot of, I call it tape. I mean, it's not tape, but that's the same type of thing. Like you scout these GMs, you try to get what their tendencies are. And right now the rest of the league is sort of guessing, but I would imagine that since they struck out on their original 3-tech plan, if you're another team, you're thinking, one of those 2 second-round picks could definitely be a defensive lineman that fits what Matt Eberflus wants to do at that position.
Yeah, it's a position that Alan Williams would talk about the importance of. Obviously, Eberflus has, and if they see somebody in the draft, maybe it's not even a Perry on Winfrey, but another defensive lineman that can be that guy. Yes, they have Justin Jones on the 2-year deal, but it's still something that they wanted to prioritize first, and yet it didn't work out with Larry Ogunjobi.
All right, Will, your prospect today is...
Ooh, I'm going to go with Nicholas, not Moreano, Petit-Frere, the offensive tackle from Ohio State. This one is Nick. The reason why I chose him is not because I'm a big fan of Petit-Frere, like, hey, the Bears should go get him. But when we were doing our mock drafts a couple of weeks ago when I was up in the city, he was one that I did all the homework on and then ended up changing the pick. So I had some notes here, and I figured, well, why not leverage and share with our audience? So what I like about him, that he's just very smooth when you watch him. He's really good in space, high energy, strong motor. You see him running downfield, looking for more guys to block on some of those longer extended plays. Like Tevin Jenkins, I stumbled across a clip where he's running a guy into the ground, out of bounds, to the whistle. He has really good length, size, a good blend of that. Really strong run blocker. Can use that power to drive defenders back. And then with that long length of those arms that he has, he's able to kind of extend and kind of steer those defenders, where they want him to go. Now, some of the cons, just like Pierce, we had some questions about play strength, overall footwork. This is a guy who went from right tackle in 2020 when he was protecting Justin Fields over to left tackle in 2021. He was very productive on both sides, but just due to the inconsistency of kind of staying at one position, he's a little clunky with his footwork, and just with some good coaching, that can be cleaned up. He's just a little bit raw in that regard. Like I said, needs to add that play strength and just kind of gain some more experience at one position across the board. I think that plus coaching will iron out some of those footwork, some of those reaction concerns. And how I look at it is, if he's available in the third round and the Bears have not addressed the offensive line, he's someone that, he's worked with Justin. He knows him very well. He fits that Bears zone scheme just due to the athletic profile that he has there as well. He's someone that can start at left tackle right away, if that's how the Bears see him and project him, and then just give him some seasoning for a year or two, and he can be one of the better tackles in the NFL. He has all that potential, but do they have the staff and the pieces in place to kind of coach him up and tap into it? I think he would be someone that the Bears would be happy to have on this team. He's there in the third. I just wouldn't take him in the second, like I did in my mock draft a couple of weeks ago that I talked myself out of.
You see
Questions?
The scoreboard right there. It's very clear. Adam 1, Nick 0, Will 1.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. But again, maybe just some other comments on Nicholas there. I was able to listen to him. Were you there, Will, for his press conference at the scouting combine? I don't know if you were or not, but
I think we split up at that point.
We split up. But man, someone asked him about the importance of his mother and just his overall growth as not even just a football player, but as just a person. And he could not say enough great things about his mom and what she's meant to him throughout his life. But he just has a good head on his shoulders. Like, if he gets in an NFL team, he knows that he's not going to take it for granted. That was one of his takeaways also from just the combine experience. But again, it fills a position of need, familiarity, Justin Fields. It would be a nice pairing there, Will, to have somebody like that on the football team. That, again, the Bears just need offensive line. We've talked about it multiple times on this podcast, so he would definitely be a good addition to the Bears.
It's like this. Like, they haven't addressed the position yet in free agency. Outside of Tevin Jenkins, I can't recall any other, big end resources they've put in this position over the past 5-7 years. Like, eventually you just have to start doing it. So, like, if you're going to use like a day 2 pick on a guy like this who has all the upside, and you just believe that you can get him in to your state of the art facility, as everyone knows that Hallisall is, that's getting a lot of, I guess, touting right now on social media from some of the new guys. Like, you bring him in, you get him stronger, you coach him up, and then again, you have someone that can be a long-term answer at a very important position.
Look, I think the reality is there's so many needs for this team that there's a very good chance fans are going to be unhappy and happy after the second round. I feel like with one of those 2 picks, they're going to pick an offensive lineman or a wide receiver. But I would not be completely shocked if we're talking about a corner and a 3 technique. And those are the 2 picks. And I guess that would be the scenario where fans are probably like, what are they doing? But that gets us where I'm glad we're talking about some guys who could still be around early in the third round. Like, let's not forget the Bears picking early enough in each of these rounds where that helps. Every year we talk about like tanking for draft picks, we're always like in the mindset of, they don't even have a first round pick, so it doesn't matter Well, it does matter because, it's better to be picking earlier in all of those rounds. And so you can get a guy early on day 2. A lot of times you can get plug-and-play starters there because a lot of times teams in the first round, I don't want to say reach, but we'll look for those guys with like the huge ceilings that still need refinement and aren't ready to go right away. And a lot of times in that early second round, you can get guys who are just good players. Like, you can put them in there week 1 and they're going to play close to a starter, and maybe they'll never, like Cody Whitehair is probably a perfect example.
True,
a guy who's never become a superstar offensive lineman in the league, but has been just starting and playing pretty solid football for the Bears for a long time now. Took a little bit of a step back last year by his own admission, but he's overall been a very good pro for the Bears.
Yeah, no, completely agree. I think I saw Nunu Johnson say, like, hey, they need another corner. Like, in the mock draft that Will and I did now a couple weeks ago, I had him taking Kyler Gordon. So it wouldn't be too surprising to see that position selected there. I always think of second-round draft picks as guys that will become eventual starters. And for a lot of times for the Bears in that second round, there have been guys that have been kind of plug and play. Like James Daniels was a guy that was implemented into the offense. Anthony Miller never panned out, but that's another second-round draft pick there. Even in the third round, like David Montgomery was a guy that the Bears moved up to go get, and we see how he's doing for the Bears right now. But, yes, the second round, if it comes away with 2 defensive players, I know that chat on that show is going to be crazy.
It's already crazy right now. I triggered everybody just by like saying it. I'm telling you,
it's a possibility.
It's a possibility. They have a lot of needs. So enough that they could truly stick with whoever the best player is on their board. Mm-hmm. And depending on how it falls, it could be defense.
I'm just a little upset with you guys. None of you guys did a nice French accent for Nicolas Petit-Frere. I mean, come on.
Well, I'm anti that pick because there's already too many Nicholases in this conversation.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Moreano,
Marino.
Yeah. But no, did you know what petit frere means in French? Anyone?
No.
French fries.
Small fry?
He should have went to Michigan State because it's little brother.
Oh. You mean you should have gone to Michigan?
Well, yeah, it depends on which era. Yeah, take that, Harbaugh. Okay, I'll stop talking about French now.
All right. If you enjoy CHGO, one way to help us to continue to grow is to download the PointsBet app and use code CHGO when you sign up. Not only are you going to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000, but if you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. If you have any questions, email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we'll help you out. And in case you missed it, online sign-up is available in Illinois. You'll be signing up with the fastest sports book, easier than ever, so you can start living your bet life in seconds. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
This is a good day to talk about the things we have at CHGO because I'm just looking at our show schedule today, kicking it off with our Bears show, obviously, here. We got bets coming up. Bulls are going to the playoffs. I don't know how long they're going to be in the playoffs, but we still have you covered this week.
I got a good guest today, so you should watch that.
We got a new...
They have a good guest on Bulls today. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to spoil
I thought
it.
you said they have a new desk.
No, that'd be cool if we had a new desk.
I don't know if that's moving the needle for me.
No.
The new desk.
No.
But a guest.
Desk.
I'm
A
excited
guest,
about that.
yes.
Is it Michael Jordan?
It is not.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
Oh, there's Matt.
Oh,
Yeah.
Matt's here. He said Matt Peck is here, and he said Michael Jordan's on the show today.
So there you go.
It's official. So there you go. That's how.
I didn't know that Matt Peck came out before dark.
I was gonna say
we never
interesting to see him here. At
he's
noon.
like a vampire. He just
see him on CHGO. That's where you check him out.
But the White Sox home openers today, so we got you set with pregame and postgame today. There's so many good things here. I'll be watching those ones as I get excited about what will probably be another devastating loss like last week. I told myself I was not going to react opening day, and then I'm an emotional wreck over it.
That one hurt to watch, though.
The way they lost it. But they came back just fine the next 2 days. They won the series. That's all you got to do. But beyond that, make sure you're going to allchgo.com, getting that membership, get those the premium written content we have for you. I have a mailbag that went up yesterday. Those questions came from the Discord, the CHGO Lounge. So another good place to be. We did a live chat last week. I know Will and Nick will be doing some of that coming up too. So you definitely want to get those memberships. And when you do that, you get the drip.
You get the drip.
Which is now being worn. And
represent.
Cody's here. I saw some drip on as well today.
Yeah, look at
so
that.
it's starting to trickle in.
Although, can we talk about? He also is wearing shorts. Or how do we feel about shorts?
Well, Olin and I were having this conversation because of our set. On I don't know if the shorts are going to be a good play here.
Yeah.
But I do have kind of a rule that I basically don't wear long pants the second it gets nice out here in Chicago until.
It's pretty nice today.
So we're going to have to make some tough decisions here.
I'm wearing shorts.
You can just have a pair of work pants and keep them there, Adam.
Yeah, that's true.
Just hang them up on the coat rack, and then you walk in, you throw them on.
See, look at Will.
The Mr. Rogers with pants.
What?
Exactly.
Just walk in, untie the shoes, switch the pants. I like it.
Perfect.
I like it. Mr. Rogers.
I am definitely.
That's good. Who are you guys voting for in the big battle between my podcast partner Adam Johns and myself?
Oh,
I think there's like an hour left in this thing.
Yeah. Do you know what the totals is right now, Adam? Because
I
have
haven't
not
checked
voted.
it.
I have not voted yet.
Do you know what it is?
No, because I haven't voted. I
right.
kind of let's see.
It's that hard of a decision for you, huh?
I just wanted to see where
if
the numbers are at.
Let's see if I
Just
get some
wanted to see.
updated
Yeah,
numbers.
for people who don't know, there's a kind of like a March Madness brackets down to the final two. Very own Adam Hoge and Adam Johns, both 1 seeds going at it. Just curious, who did you guys vote for?
Last year I lost to Chris Emma in the championship.
Did you?
Not to sound like Donald Trump, but it turns out it was rigged.
It was rigged.
There were some members of the Emma family that apparently were stuffing the ballot box. Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that because I remember Chris Emma winning. But
I'm just saying, Adam Johns has a big family, and I'm just a little worried. No, it looks like it's a 54 to 46% with an hour and 28 minutes left.
who's up?
Me.
Ooh, wow. I'll just stay out of this one.
Wow.
I'll stay out of this one, you guys.
You are pretty loyal to Johnsy, I have to say. Devin said he voted for Marino. I like it.
Yeah. Except Moreano.
Will has no opinion on this whatsoever.
One day I just want to be invited to the dance.
Were you not in there?
I'm never in there. It's because I built the brand and I never focus on Will DeWitt. So now we have to focus on Will.
Well, see, and now you're starting to build that up, so maybe I'll be. Yeah. Maybe you'll be in it. Maybe I'll be above a 10 seed. Like I thought that was.
You should be in there. You should be in there. And there were some fair points brought up about how there are members, very esteemed women reporters who do a great job covering the Bears, who are actually in that media room on a daily basis, who are not included in the bracket. And that was a very fair point that was brought up. I think Laura Majera brought that up, and that was very fair on her part. Yeah, but all right.
It's always a fun thing. I don't know why. Like whenever I see it every year, I'm like, okay, how's this all gonna shape up?
Yeah. I just look at it and go, maybe next year. If Adam follows me back on Twitter, that may be enough.
Oh, take it.
Yikes.
I got Olin last week. I got him with a joke and a GIF, so he finally got me a follow back.
See, the problem is I don't spell, when I search for Will, I don't spell it with ones. So,
but you know better when it comes to me.
Done. At
Nice.
Will DeWitt, the L's are ones. We've figured this out.
I'll screenshot it, and I'll frame it, and I'll put it on my desk.
Yeah. And now we know where Nick's allegiances lie.
Hey, I like this question from Tony Daly in the chat. Not to move on from voting for you in some poll that means nothing, but
wow.
Tony says, how would you guys feel about going O-line with the first 2 picks, unlikely to happen, and trying to solidify the line and then build out that way?
Are we saying that hopefully that third pick then round 3, it's like an Alec Pierce or something like that, but then you'd have, if you're addressing maybe tackle and right guard, one of the tackle positions, whatever the Bears,
I don't mean to cop out to all these questions, but yes. Like tell me wide receivers, 2 wide receivers. Yes.
Double dip.
Give me a corner and a 3 technique. Yes. They need all of these, So I don't have Tony, I like it. They need more offensive linemen. The one problem with, like, if you're going to tell me they're going to draft 2 tackles, they're still playing with fire a little bit with youth at the tackle position.
Mm-hmm, true, yeah.
And somewhat of an unknown situation. Even if you have 2 second-year tackles and 2 rookie tackles all competing, you're still going into week 1 in that scenario with 2 young tackles with a young quarterback, which is still concerning even if they end up working out.
No, it's a really good point, and that's why, like, I've been saying that I would like to see the Bears bring in some veterans on the offensive side, whether it's at the tackle position or even at wide receiver. It's good to have those type of guys in there. Will, do you have any thoughts on whether or not, hey, let's go offensive linemen, stack it up at the first, round 2 and go from there?
I wouldn't mind if 1. 2 may be tough. Just like receiver, there's good talent in the 3rd round. I don't think we should just miss out completely compared to one unit over the other in that 2nd round. And honestly, is Eric Fisher still available? Because if he is, there's still a left tackle, a veteran that they can bring in, really relatively cheap deal, no Zebraflus, can fit in the scheme, and kind of hold down the fort there for a little bit and coach some guys up. So I would say no to the 2 offensive linemen right out the bat. But again, if that's what they thought was best player available too, and that's what they actually went for, I can't complain too much. I may be a little upset because there's a receiver or 2 I like, or a corner I may like. But outside of that, I guess I'd get it.
I'd still take Jason Peters back. If the Bears are at nowhere land and he's on his fishing boat, hey, come on, Jason Peters.
Well, it's a good point.
Decent.
And there's a question in here from Chris. Is any chance to become more aggressive with free agents after the draft? There is another wave of free agency after the draft. There are players who get cut after the draft, like Charles Leno did last year. So,
yeah.
And the downside of that is other teams are waiting for that too. So
exactly.
You might have to be a little aggressive. You're not going to pay what you would have paid in March, but you might have to pay a little bit more after the draft than you would right now because there is that extra wave. Other teams are sort of stalling here at this point to see who else is available. But the point being, there are going to be other players, and you mentioned Fisher. There's other options out there, and I think that's kind of what Poles is waiting for right now. So,
yep.
Did we have a super chat in there? I think we did. If Fields ends up having Phillip Rivers' career stats when he retires, plus more rushing yards, obviously, would you consider the draft pick to have been good? Yes. Phillip Rivers has an outstanding career, without a doubt. If he plays that long, Phillip Rivers
17 seasons.
17 and look,
and 17 children as well.
I was going to say
1 kid for every season. His wife was like, please retire.
Oh, God.
He's coaching high school football in Alabama right now, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. 421 touchdowns, 209 interceptions, but longevity at the position. I'd be okay with that. With obviously, like you said, have the rushing stats in there as well because he's way more just a better athlete than a Phillip Rivers, but for a city that's never had sustained success at the quarterback position, I think you'd be happy with that.
Yeah. One last topic we wanted to bring up before we get out of here is this idea. There was some news yesterday with the XFL, which is coming back next year. The USFL is starting this weekend, I believe. So we're getting some spring football. But the XFL signed a deal with the NFL's alumni, which is based out of Canton, and kind of has this pool of players, I guess, that they sort of help develop to, just help get guys into the league or help teams when they're short on players or whatever. And it's just once again kind of brought up this conversation that I believe would be great for a number of different reasons, which is the idea of using these spring leagues as developmental leagues for the NFL. Now it's complicated, but to me the idea of if you could assign like 5 of those players that you signed to reserve future contracts right at the end of the season, like assign a handful of those players to a spring league to develop, it just to me makes too much sense. And they're going to bring up, the Players Association might bring up, or the league might bring up the idea of player safety and the injuries, and it certainly would be a risk having those guys play in a league where they could tear their ACL and then miss the NFL season coming up. But like to me, it's like the players that you would be sending to that, first of all, you'd have plenty of notice if they got hurt in the spring. You know, also, you're probably not relying on those guys immediately. Exactly. You're trying to develop them. And a lot of those players, when you talk about player safety and potentially playing too many games, they don't play during the NFL season.
Exactly.
Yep.
You know, a guy that would have benefited like a Rodney Adams, someone that was like making plays in the preseason and, you know, even in training camp, like get him into a league like that. Who knows? But that was like somebody who identified like this is what the league would be for. Those fringe guys, I forgot where he signed with, but yeah, like a Rodney Adams would love something like this.
I brought this up before that you could, like one of the teams you could have like a team for every division.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So like the NFC North could be made up of the players from the 4 teams in the NFC North. Like you could group them like that.
Do we want to be commiserating with Packers?
I don't know.
Yeah, they got Luke Getsy now.
So. Or you could have them, you know, or I don't know. The point being, you could group the teams together. So, and maybe you do it in a way where they're not competitors or rivals like that, or whatever makes the most sense. I don't know. But the point being, like, you could have all, like, the 5 Bears players that get sent there all on the same team. And, you know, I think Bears fans would watch that then.
Oh, yeah.
Does anyone, how many people even watching this knew that the USFL was starting this weekend?
True. Yeah.
Like, I knew it was coming, but I wasn't necessarily aware it was Saturday, right? Whereas if you had something like this, you could have, you know, these fan bases really, I don't want to say totally invested. I'm not expecting it to be like the NFL, but I think it would be more successful that way. I don't know. It's just a thought.
I like it. I've been adamant on our podcast for years that some sort of development league would just be great for the game of football. Look what the G League has done for the NBA. There are players that go there, develop, and end up being really good players at the next level. And I always just go through the thought exercise of how many players over the past 5-10 years just didn't have enough time to season and develop and could have been, you know, a decent player for a team, you know, 3-4 years down the road, just because they needed the experience, some time to kind of grow into their bodies a bit, because the NFL moves fast, right? Like if you don't contribute right away, and if you're not going to, you know, help my team today, teams tend to move on from players like that pretty quickly. So if there was like a pool where, you know, they're getting coaching, they're developing, they're getting that experience, A, you'll be able to develop guys, and B, I think we all would agree, like you'll find some diamonds in the rough, like guys that went, you know, underappreciated on notice, ball out, and the team will see it, sign into the active contract, and see what they could do on Sunday. I like it.
I mean, you could even have like some minor trades that come out of it, like because teams will be scouting these players, and they'll say, you know, and then if it gets played right before the draft, maybe that's how draft picks get traded. You know, you might trade this guy for a draft pick. Good comment we have up from Rocky there. O-lineman would really benefit because of how less physical training camps have become.
True.
Like it's hard for a young offensive lineman to get true seasoning until they can actually play in those
preseason.
It wasn't Lachavious Simmons who played like almost every preseason snap last year. Like that's what was beneficial. Like you have to take advantage of those reps, and there's just not enough of them now with only 3 preseason games. So I totally agree with that idea that offensive linemen could really benefit from it.
How about the first down technology? Did you see that highlight from over the past weekend where they're using, it's basically like Hawkeye or whatever it is that the tennis does, as opposed to like 65-year-old men with a chain and sticks.
It's so long overdue.
Oh,
I mean, having done sidelines for Northwestern for so many years, like the way they spot the football is
a joke.
They're like, how about right here?
Sure.
Okay, now let's take these chains, and that definitely don't end up in the exact same spot as you walk them out 30 yards to the middle of the field. And then we need a what was the note card that Gene Steratore brought out right that one time? Like, come on.
All this technology in the NFL, like that, like a league like this, you try out some of those things because we need to get up to date with the times now.
All right, great show today, guys. Appreciate the interaction. Fun to have some more draft talk in there, and appreciate everybody for all the interaction today. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at CHGO_sports. I think we just got over 15,000 followers, right? So appreciate support. Let's get to that next 15. Let's get up to 30. How about we do that? I figure most people watching here live are already following at CHGO_sports, but if you're not, you should be, and you go follow Will too at Will. Will already got one new follower today.
That's right.
And let's get him a lot more. So there he is at Will DeWitt with the L's being ones, at Nicholas Moreano. I'm at Adam Hoge. Appreciate everybody. We will be back tomorrow with another big show. More draft prospects for you as well tomorrow at 11 a.m. We'll talk to you then.